Sunshine State.
Voices of the people marching everywhere, and now you should know that we are not going anywhere. Can you feel us now? We ain't backing down. No, we won't turn around. Now you see the fringe minority. Can you hear the sound rising through the crowd? Yes, sing it loud and proud. Now you see the fringe minority. Whoa, whoa. Now you see the fringe minority. Whoa, whoa. Now you see the fringe minority. After taking everything we had, now we're gonna take it back. Everybody watching.
All right. Here we go.
Sorry, there's just a little bit of echo.
All right, everyone. Here we go. Live in the studio again with your hosts, JIERRA and Miriam. On our show, Voices for Change, which is a human rights platform. We interview all kinds of people from different fields, and we focus on the very common ground of our basic human rights. So, Miriam, did you have a nice 4th of July weekend, and what have you been up to?
Yes, 4th of July weekend was absolutely wonderful. Unfortunately, our country had a pretty big disaster occur, so we have a little bit tainted experience, right? Here we have again the issue of a shooter taking out innocent people on a joyous occasion. But overall, I think it was okay. It's just kind of like a dark cloud, a little bit. But other than that, it was fantastic.
I do understand. And I think we're actually going to be covering a little bit of that in the show later on with regards to the connection between some of these mass shootings and some of the drugs that are going on in the pharmaceutical companies and psychotropic drugs. So
yeah, it's very important to educate the public and expose the truth, what's going on with that.
Absolutely.
And how about you, JIERRA, before we move on? How about you? How was your weekend?
I actually had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I have to say that it was a little bit even more meaningful to me now than ever before, because in the last 6 months, I've been a 100% dedicated patriot, also within the industry, in the music industry, and just finally coming right out and standing up for what I believe in and being a patriot online, on the radio, on videos. So It meant a lot to me, and it felt different because I really felt like I was contributing and doing my part, which really helped because, I love this country so very much, and I'll do whatever I can to help it.
And I love that about you. I totally agree with you. And I really enjoyed relishing in our freedoms, and it gave us a chance to kind of relax and face the music, so to speak, of, fighting for freedom more. We really have a lot more to do. And hey, there's Steve.
Hi,
Thanks
Steve.
for joining us, Steve.
Hey, ladies. First of all, I love in the lyrics, JIERRA, we ain't backing down. And you ladies have put your voice to the test here and reaching out to so many people over the last couple of weeks. So I'm so proud and excited about the journey that we've all taken now, because your voices have to be heard. But more importantly, other voices have to be heard. And you're providing that platform for those folks to share their voices. And the guests that you had on so far are simply amazing. So I give it up to both of you ladies that are doing a wonderful job, and Bobby behind the scenes, and Anna and Carmine. And if you want to join in, please do. It's 727-441-3000. Tan Talk Live and Tan Talk Network goes to St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and Tampa Bay, and all across the country. But I just wanted to really congratulate both of you for a dynamic start.
Well, that's really sweet of you, Steve. And you know what? We couldn't be doing it without you. Oh, that's so cute. Yay! It is because of your nonprofit, the Chapters Wrap Network, and allowing people to have an outlet to really protect and express our right to freedom of speech. You know, I really applaud you for that, and your mission of Chapters Wrap to unify all walks of people and, you know, bring people together is just a beautiful mission. So thank you so much, Steve, for everything you've been doing.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Steve.
Teamwork makes the dream work. This is your
Yeah, there
show.
you go.
I wanted to say that, congratulations, because you have an amazing show tonight. And this is drive time. So this is the time when people are sitting in their cars. You got to take this stuff in, because now we all have to voice our concerns. You brought up what happened in Highland Park. This has got to stop. We got to figure out ways how this, because I too, JIERRA, love this country. We all love this country, but we have to fight for the rights of the people in this country, because sometimes they're looking blindly in what's in front of them, and change doesn't happen when that occurs.
Absolutely.
That's true.
If I may make a mention, because just within the last very short period of time, like yesterday, for example, if you guys want to look it up, Tucker Carlson went live on Fox, and basically the name of that is there a connection between mass killings and prescription drugs, on Fox News? Very hard hitting. I think it's very worth listening to. And also a gentleman named Jack Posobiec. I hope I'm saying his name right. Posobiec. On Telegram, IG, Twitter, he has probably into the millions of followers. Also reposted something by Citizens Commission on Human Rights, CCHR, which is all about actually investigating
and exposing.
Yeah, the link between this kind of stuff and basically the mental health care system. And so there's actually, he reposted an article regarding 37 school shooters or school-related violence committed by those under the influence of psychiatric drugs. So we're going to get into that a little bit later, because we actually have the president of CCHR Florida that will be joining us in a little bit. I would love to segue into bringing on our very first guest. And also just to tell you guys that song that played in the beginning is called Fringe Minority. That's my song. And you can...
Yay, JIERRA!
Thank you.
Yeah, where can people buy that song or support you in any way?
Well, my name is JIERRA, and it's spelled JIERRA. So if you think of like Sierra Mist, you know, the soda.
You're so cute.
Like it's actually spelled like that, but with a J. JIERRA. That's how you can find me on Instagram, all over social media. But also if you go to JIERRA and then you do a bandcamp.com, you can buy my music there, which would be great.
Oh, fantastic. That's awesome, because that song is just to die for. So thank you so much for giving us that information.
Thank you.
And Steve, thank you so much for coming on and saying all those kind things about us. And we just think the world of you too, and really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. So thank you again, Steve. I'm going to introduce our next guest, who is just the most awesome dude. Let me give him a really good intro here. His name is Shaun Frederiksen. He's one of my favorite dudes that I have not yet met.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but we talk often. I actually was connected with him via someone on social media, because at the beginning of the year, he threw a Freedom Revival event in San Diego with tens of thousands of guests, and it was absolutely amazing. Yep, by the way, you guys, we're on the radio right now, but we're also live streaming on YouTube at The Chapters Wrap. So we're going to try to do a good job of informing you of what's coming up on the screen, because it looks like a TV show when you're watching it live. But for those listening onto the radio, we've got a photo up right now of Shaun right in the front line with about 12,000 people marching through the streets behind him.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, he has his own show called We the People. And basically, let me just read a little bit of this. In July of 2021, he sent ripples through the San Diego community when he confronted Wilma Wooten, the San Diego County Health and Human Services Director, with evidence exposing the state-sponsored propaganda. And now we have a photo of him at that actual hearing, which was absolutely amazing. It's on his Instagram. Like, talk about major mic drop. That was an amazing thing that he did there. And because of that, it basically rippled out, and it got over 1 million views on Instagram. And, you know, his desire to basically make change and be active and really empower San Diego residents. But not only that, he works all over California. He's, a father of 3, but yet he finds the time to really get involved. He's constantly organizing events. He's speaking out. He's talking about bills that need to be passed or not passed. And I just admire him so much.
It's so very important. I would definitely say that he is definitely a freedom fighter.
Oh, big time. And for those that can't see his photo right now, he has the coolest hair ever. So let's bring on Shaun. He actually has long dreadlocks, a mohawk dreadlocks, right? Yeah. Mohawk dreads. So, all right, Shaun, please enter.
Oh man, JIERRA and Miriam, thank you so much for having me on. What a joy. Can you hear me?
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, we can hear you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that intro. So kind to be introduced like that. Gosh, it's crazy that it's already been a year.
I know, right? Mm-hmm. And actually, that's how I got connected with you in the first place, Shaun, because I reached out to someone on social media and let them know I wanted to be singing for more events. Mm-hmm. And they sent me to you and we got in touch right away. So it was absolutely awesome. And, been trying to, I always seek advice from you when I need it. And of course, now is like, we got to have Shaun on our radio show.
Yeah, what a joy. I think that what's really been exposed is the reality that average people are needed to preserve the republic. I think there was once a time where we thought that it was those individuals at the top that would be moral, that would be able to implement some kind of process that would save citizens, but it's actually the inversion. It's like it starts from the bottom. Like there's nothing that will heal this gun crisis that we're running into or these mass shootings from the top. Like there's no legislation that will fix the republic. It starts in the hearts of the men and women who love this country. And if they're not willing to save it, then it won't be saved.
Absolutely. And actually, Shaun, real quick, is there any way that you could turn your camera on so people could see you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have a great sounding voice for those listening on the radio. There he is.
Yo.
What's up,
Perfect.
Shaun?
Good to see you,
Dude,
Shaun.
Come on.
Let's go.
And by the way, I mean, Shaun has the most incredible show that I think you produce that and do that all yourself, right, Shaun, called We the People?
Yes, I do. I do it myself. Indeed.
And it's so epic, and you guys have got to watch it on his Instagram, which is it Shaun_Frederiksen or just Shaun Frederiksen?
It's just Shaun Frederiksen. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there it is. It's SHAUN.
Yes.
FREDERICKSON on
Yes.
and I always appreciate that you are so courageous because he grabs a mic, he has a cameraman, and he literally does the ultimate. He goes out on the street and just starts asking people everywhere questions about any of the hot topics, right? And we have a photo up right now of him interviewing a woman just on the beach. So I want to know, do you ever get nervous or anything? Or how do you prompt yourself to just dive in and do that with people?
I'm a pretty quiet guy for the most part. I'm an introvert. I value my solo time. There's nothing as great as sitting by myself in the morning with a cup of coffee, just sitting outside in the sunshine and having nobody talk to me. So for me to go from that to going out to the beach and asking these hard questions, engaging in what I know will be conflict, it's hard. It's not something that I would naturally do, but I choose to do it because if I don't, then who will? And I would rather know that it's going to be done, because the objective is I want to touch on the taboo topics, right? Like I want to talk about what are our First Amendment rights? Like, can women get pregnant? Things that we're going to talk about abortion, talk about, what's your beliefs on women? What is a woman? I want to discuss these ideas because I think that if we don't from the bottom, if people are not sharing these ideas because we're nervous of being judged, then we're going to start accepting the ideas from the top. And that's so polar that you're not really going to get the truth. And so I love getting out there and finding out how crazy people are. It's a blast.
Oh, wow. That's really amazing. Shaun, that's so awesome that you really took on the call to duty and you just get over being an introvert and you just get out there and do it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you told us that, because basically Miriam and I think one of the major purposes that we have personally for this show is not only to give people great information, but we want to inspire people into action. A lot of people don't know that I can be extremely shy and get very nervous about certain things, but I've moved myself into action. And when I see other people like you, Shaun, doing that, it's just absolutely incredible, because I mean, actually, I would love to run a clip of that show in just a second, but I think it's important that you tell people your story and say, I'm quiet. I might be a little bit of an introvert sometimes, because anybody else that is looking at us going, well, I couldn't do that because they're just so out there and outgoing. No, you should really know that we probably all have our own personal struggles, but you can move yourself into action.
Yeah, action is so very important. So well done, Shaun.
Yeah. And I'd love to, if we want, and we're going to run just a quick clip of his show, We the People. And so when you guys hear it on the radio, you're going to, he's just walking up to people in the gas station at, a festival, and he's got a mic and he starts asking them questions. Let's roll it.
So awesome.
Knowing what you know now with COVID.
Or not. Maybe we won't roll it.
Knowing what you know now with COVID, is there anything you would do differently in March 2020?
I got wealthy in COVID, so I wouldn't do anything different. COVID was good for me.
What do you think about communism?
Know nothing about it, so I'm not going to say shit about it.
What about you guys?
I agree.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, but I mean, I'd rather not get on to that stuff. Like, that's personal.
Do you know what Marxism is?
No.
What do you think about Black Lives Matter?
I mean, I support the movement for sure.
Do you know what Marxism is?
No.
Do you?
No.
The youth have been targeted by Marxist and communist ideology. Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization.
I'm a biologist.
If I were to ask you when does life begin, what would your answer be?
Scientifically based is that's the issue, is like church and how people see it differently. Like, some people believe life begins at conception. I personally think life begins not when it's just growing or it's a clump of cells.
So is bacteria alive?
Yes, bacteria is alive.
Virus alive?
A virus is alive.
It's technically not alive until it has a host.
Saying that a virus is living, then if it has a host, then a fetus has a host, so it must be living, right? Just by your logic.
How I see it is I literally do not care. Like, I personally am someone who would never want to get pregnant. It's a horrifying concept to go through.
Why is gas so expensive?
I have no idea.
How much is it, dude? $6.39 a gallon. $6.39 a gallon. Dude, I need answers. Somebody's got to have answers. Let's go find out. Excuse me, I'm trying to figure out, why is gas so expensive?
Because corporations are greedy.
What can we do to bring the prices down?
Go on strike.
What do you mean, like walking around?
No, just like don't buy gas.
There you go. And there you have it, Shaun. You're just walking around asking people questions. It's perfect.
So courageous.
It makes me cringe watching it, knowing that, like, I walked into a gas station. I asked the gas station clerk, what should we do about high gas prices? And she's the one that tells us that we shouldn't buy gas.
I mean, but these are like really real issues that the American public are dealing with, right? Like, okay, so what do we do? And it's perfect. What an awesome question. And you're so courageous.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I love, Shaun, that everyone that I've ever watched, because I've watched a lot of your episodes, I do love that you just ask people questions. You don't then basically make them feel wrong for what they've said necessarily, or say, oh, well, that's not the right thing, or, hey, you're stupid. You don't do that. You're just asking questions to get people to look at it and maybe stop regurgitating the general answers, but really look at it for themselves. But I don't feel that you do it in a way that kind of, squashes them down for their answers. And I appreciate that, because I think we need more of that.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
definitely.
Oh, thank you so much. There's a strategy behind it, if I might. Like, it's recognizing.
Drop it on us, Shaun.
I am not that smart, and I'm conscious of it. I'm like, I went out to do an episode on the First Amendment, and after I did the episode, I realized I screwed up in the episode and I was wrong about information I was giving. And it's understanding that I'm not perfect, that I don't know all the information, and so how dare I tell somebody they're wrong? I would rather just break down, like, hey, this is my perspective. Let's bounce ideas off of each other and see if we can come to like a common agreement, or even like closer to the middle, and realize that we're not enemies, that we gotta collaborate. We need more people that are willing to work together, because this left versus right paradigm is a distraction from actually protecting our republic and establishing a country that will preserve for another 250 years. Like, we're nearly at the 250-year mark. And that's the average length of a country, is 250 years.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna push it forward, Shaun. All of us
that's right. We're just going to
fighters.
keep on fighting and pushing it forward and encourage people to communicate and encourage people to understand one another's viewpoints and encourage each other to not necessarily pick a side and are mean to anyone because of the side that they picked, and just understand each other, right? Because there's so much power in being unified. And it seems like that's one of the things that you're working on doing, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, applause.
Yes. It's a big applause. Definitely.
Well, Shaun, also I want to touch on the fact that so I was very, very inspired by your efforts and what you pulled off with the Freedom Revival Festival in January. Because again, I know you had help, and obviously you had a bunch of people working with you, but when I see in you or in other people take from an idea into a full, it's done. There's, tens of thousands of people. You had, food trucks, you had a concert, you had a stage, you had media there. And again, it starts with one thought, but then the fact that you could move that into the full completion of that idea is so inspiring. And if we can, I'd love to show, again, just a 1-minute clip of that video, guys, on the radio, well, you can't see it, but there's thousands of people marching through the streets. There's a concert, there are reverends, there are politicians there, and just to bring everybody together, right, Shaun? So, I have a clip of that. If we could just show that real quick. And I took the liberty of putting my own song on there. So there you go.
Perfect.
I'm glad.
Yeah, that's the freedom.
So shred down our freedom. Thou shalt not threaten nor tread down our freedom. We will defend to the end our freedom. Freedom. Freedom.
This home with the brave, so the flag that I wave is the one that was made by my ancestors slaves, and they can't roll in graves, so I'm breaking the chains and I'm bucking the system, making a change. Sacrifices were made and I never will cave. Yeah, I'm bearing these arms, but I don't hibernate, and I go hyperdrive and I do not evade. When it's stupid invade and I brand is my blade. This is a holy war, this is for glory, and this is the reason my people was fighting for. It was to knock and phone, put on your uniform. This is the coldest war, another culture war. This is the sequel. Listening all of my people. All we have left is a shred of our freedom.
All we have left is a shred of our freedom. Thou shalt not threaten nor tread down our freedom.
Woo!
Yeah, that was great.
Whoever wrote that song, gosh, did a great job.
I know. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, that song is perfect for that.
JIERRA and the Marine Rapper. But man, Shaun, again, for the listeners in their cars, I just want to give you a visual again, like over 10,000 people marching through the streets, flags waving, people praying, people speaking on the stage, and just such a connection of love and unity. You could feel it. And Shaun, I wonder, what did that feel like pulling that off? And then aren't you going to do another one?
Yeah, right. Are you going to come to Florida? Maybe we should do one here.
Come on, Shaun.
Oh, that'd be too easy. Florida's, I mean, you got a great governor out there that's fighting the way that I wish ours would. Pulling off that Freedom Revival wasn't possible, which made it that much more enjoyable, where the idea was birthed in November, the end of November, like Thanksgiving. I remember I was up in Mammoth sitting on my buddy's porch, and we're sitting there like dreaming up, like, what would we call it if we did this thing? And that's when it all birthed. And so we did it in about 5 weeks. We made this event happen.
That's crazy.
From scratch. I'm telling you, it was scratch. And I want to speak to the hearts of people that think that you can't do something big, that you can't accomplish something and influence your communities, where I'm just a random person that showed up at a county board of supervisors meeting. I said something that needed to be said. I met a need, and I did the same thing with this event. I said something, I spoke life into a dream. And then there were people that came around me that said, if you're serious, I'll do it with you. And I had a team of about 15 people, and they're the most incredible people in the world. Like, there's the photo of us, and it gets me so emotional looking at it, because we worked so hard to make this thing happen. We brought in pastors from all around Southern California with this vision of these men that we brought have been leading by example. They have been keeping their churches open. They got arrested for standing up in Sacramento. They sued the state of California and won. It went to the Supreme Court and they won. So these men we brought in with the vision that they will show people what it looks like to be courageous, and then we can like follow them, kind of like Jesus, or like Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. The same idea, like we have to show people what it means to be courageous, because I don't think that politicians are wanting to do that. Like they don't want us to be courageous. I don't really think that many people anymore want courageous men and women anymore, but we need that. We need men to realize like now is the time. There's an ideological war taking place. And if we don't engage, then there's no guarantee that we will have another, 10, 20, 30 years if we don't start to do something now.
Wow, Shaun, you're so inspiring. And I think Miriam and I have a vision of taking this show and really making it national and doing stuff like out on the streets, interviewing people. And I'm just going to throw it out there live on the radio right now. But someday, hopefully, we can all be on a big, cool team doing that all over the country.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. Let's work together and get some cool? Yes, you're amazing. Let's get some real mental health reform going so we can get these shootings to cease, and we can, protect our human rights, and we can get a free country, and then, people can choose to live the lives that they want to live. And
absolutely. And by the way, so Shaun, in a minute, we're going to bring on another guest. I'd love for you to stay on if you want to, because let me tell you, this woman is such a freedom fighter and has so much crucial information about some things going on in the world right now. But also, just before I wrap it up with you, I'd love to know, obviously people are listening. They get it. Our fan base knows what's going on. How could you tell them anywhere listening right now, what is the one thing they could do today or tomorrow, just even the smallest step to move themselves into action and empowerment? What's like maybe just anything that you could suggest to say, this is what you could do tomorrow?
Okay. So I would say,
Shaun.
the first thing to do is start small. You're not going to change the world. We had 15,000 people show up here in San Diego. In my heart, I'm thinking this is going to influence the election. That means that we're going to have candidates that we know are strong and moral win in this primary, but it didn't happen. And I want people to hear the necessity to start small and start recognizing that it's with these small steps that we create habits that will produce big change. And it's over the course of time. Like, you can't change your city, county, state, country in a night. And that's okay, because if everybody had the ability to change it, then what kind of world would we be living in? It takes it's the steady pace and the diligence to do the uncomfortable actions. I think that we often sit in safety and choose comfort over discomfort. And what I've learned over the past 2 years is that the most discomfort I've engaged with has produced the most life. So get uncomfortable. If you truly want life around you, then do something that makes you uncomfortable.
That's incredible. And is there anything you could say, like, as far as talking at city council meetings or anything, even just to say, do this, show up here, just to help people?
Tangibly, you have city council meetings, you have county meetings, and you have state meetings. You need to know what's going on in your state legislator. So whether you have a bicameral house or a single legislature, you need to make sure, because like in California, we have the assembly and we have the Senate, a bicameral house. And so we need to know what bills are going through the Senate. For example, there's a bill right now that's trying to give 12-year-olds the authority to get an inoculation without the parents' consent. Like, these are bills that we need to know about, because if we don't, then these are going to pass, and we're going to reap the consequences because we were ignorant to the realities. So I highly recommend find out the schedule of your weekly city council meetings. It's all online. There's no excuses anymore. So find out the weekly meetings for the city council, find out the monthly meetings for your county board of supervisors, and then just look up what the legislator is doing in your state and hold people accountable. Your job as a citizen of the United States is to ensure that the government over you is representing you the way that you want to be represented.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Woo! Yes.
Woo!
That is
preach, Shaun.
Yes,
Preach.
that's perfect.
All right, Shaun. Well,
my gosh.
We want to thank you so much. We're going to bring our next guest.
That was like an amazing segue.
Yeah, you're so awesome.
Yes, that was amazing.
And also, where can people find you so we can shout that out?
Yeah. So Instagram, Shaun Frederickson. If you butcher it, just keep trying. SHAUN and the rest. I'm on YouTube as well. I do the video series called We the People. And then the website is freedomrevival.org. We will be doing another event. We're at this point of trying to figure out how we can meet the need, possibly in October. We would love donations. It's all nonprofit, and we're all trying to bless the community. That's me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well,
thanks for
thank
doing
you,
what
Shaun.
you're doing.
Yeah, if you could stay on with us. And then Miriam, would you like to introduce our absolutely also incredible next guest?
Yes, next we have Diane Stein joining us from Citizens Commission on Human Rights. And she is the president of CCHR Florida. And she took this position in 2015. So she has been tirelessly advocating on behalf of our human rights in the field of mental health. So without further ado, please, Diane, come on.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Diane, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. I wish I didn't look like I was in a prison cell, but I I don't have my background that I normally have on, so I'm like up against this like really stark wall.
Oh, it's okay. It looks good.
Yeah, you're perfect.
Yeah,
totally. So you guys, for all of you who are out there listening, CCHR is a nonprofit. It's not political. It's not religious. And it is a fantastic organization that seriously is fighting for your human rights in the field of mental health. So Diane, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to dedicate all your human rights efforts to Citizens Commission on Human Rights?
Sure, no problem. So I live in Florida, as you probably realize, since I help lead CCHR here in Florida. And our mental health law is called the Baker Act. And that's it was named after the politician that actually reformed the law in the 1970s. And her name was Maxine Baker. So it's the mental health law. It covers everything, including involuntary examination, involuntary treatments, basically coercive psychiatry. And unfortunately, my mother was taken into custody incorrectly. She was having an adverse reaction to a medication she was on, and she was Baker Acted. That's what we call it here in Florida. And that really kind of spurred me to like really dig in and find out how it was possible for people of all ages, no matter, you could be a child, you could be an elderly person, you could be a veteran, it doesn't matter. And you can be picked up off the streets and taken against your will and held in a psychiatric facility. And I was like, well, how can that be? And that's really what kind of got me started in the area of mental health human rights. Wow.
So amazing that you're doing that and standing up for our rights. So how many people do you think that you've helped thus far get out of a mental hospital situation? I don't know. For all of you listening out there, I'm not sure if you're as familiar with this law as Diane Stein is, because she's an amazing mental health advocate and completely competent in this field. But literally a police or a school can send a person to a mental hospital, and the person can be held there for weeks, actually, involuntarily, meaning somebody has some sort of upset. Maybe somebody dies that they love, or they throw something in a house and maybe they break something and somebody calls the cops. So that person can be taken to a mental hospital and held against their will. So what Diane does is she works tirelessly to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that if the person needs to get out and it is an incorrect involuntarily, if the person has been held involuntarily, unlawfully, then Diane works to get the person out. So it's awesome that you're doing that. So how many people do you think, Diane?
Well, here in Florida, we've helped probably, I don't know, close to 2,000 people get released from psychiatric facilities. But what people don't realize is there are involuntary examination laws. It's called short-term emergency commitment, STEC. So if I say that, that's what I'm talking about. And every state has these laws. It's not peculiar to Florida. In Florida, the last information we had statistically was over 200,000 people were taken into custody under this mental health law. And about 35,000 of those were involved children. in the state of Florida. Now, unfortunately, and this is one of the things that we really are harping on, is not every state has reporting, meaning they have a law to take you into custody, and they have psychiatric facilities that are designated to hold you, but they don't have reporting in place. They don't have information, so you really don't know how many people are being taken into custody. A recent study that was published by UCLA actually detailed the stark truth, which is that only 22 states even had enough information for them to do an analysis, meaning the rest of them actually didn't have any information they could use. So, you know, making people aware of this is really important, and especially in the area of kids. And that's where we really got, we rolled up our sleeves, because, when you start talking about, tens of thousands of kids every year, it's like basically 100 Baker Acts or short-term emergency commitments on children just in the state of Florida every day, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
oh my
thousands.
goodness. And Diane, may I interject just for a moment? Because as far as I know, that just to really drive it home for people and make it personal, that means that a parent could show up to pick up their child at school, and their child is not there because their child has been taken to a mental facility without the parent's right, without them even knowing where they were, and also then put on very, very strong and psychotropic drugs with very dangerous side effects underage without the parent having any consent, just to really make sure that people know what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's actually really hard to confront. And Shaun was mentioning earlier, about doing something that's uncomfortable. It's like really confronting, what's happening, because, I'll just stick with Florida just, to keep it simple. But in 2015, that was exactly the case. Even parents, they literally found out that their 8-year-old had been taken into custody when the child did not get off the bus. So in 2015, we helped pass a law that they had to actually at least tell the parent that they'd done it. But then we still had the problem that they could take the child, and they could hold the child for up to 72 hours. So we started chipping away. And then the next thing that we did was reduce the amount of time that they had to actually perform that initial examination from 72 hours to 12 hours for a child. And then in 2021, we helped to pass two very important pieces of legislation. One was called the School Safety Act. And in that, it gave you basically the schools, like on school grounds, right? Like a principal can't Baker Act a child, but they can call the police who can, or they can call a mental health professional who can Baker Act a child. And they didn't have to get any parental involvement. The parents weren't told anything. So now they actually have to bring the parent into the process. They can't just Baker Act. They actually have to call the parent first.
Thank goodness.
Well, thank goodness. Yeah.
Which makes a huge difference, because you're correct. Once a child is in facility, even though they still require parental consent to administer psychotropic drugs inside the facility, if there are provisions where they can do an emergency treatment order on anyone. So, a child could be, given something you don't want them to have in a facility when you don't even, you have no knowledge of it, right? So the other bill that was passed is called the Parents' Bill of Rights. And that was the booklet that you held up. We actually, we helped create that so we could educate as many parents as possible. And in there, it just details some of the rights, because here's the deal. I mean, parental rights are fundamental. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. And the Parents' Bill of Rights really should not be a party issue. It all parents. Every parent should be concerned that they could possibly lose their rights to, direct the health, education, well-being, care, etc. of their child. And our concern, of course, was specifically to make sure that the Parents' Bill of Rights included the right to direct the mental health of a child, because that should also be a parent's right. And making sure that parents know that these rights are there is now the next step, because a lot of parents, when they call, we have a hotline. That's what Miriam was referring to, where people can call for free assistance in navigating the mental health law here in Florida. a lot of times they have no clue what, their rights are. Like they could be being told that they have to put their child on Ritalin or Adderall or some other psychotropic drug as a requirement for attendance in public school. And that is not the case. There's actually a federal law that prohibits that, and there is a state law here in Florida as well, but they don't know that. So if you don't know your rights, you can't protect them, which is why it was important for us to actually take and create a Parents' Bill of Rights, because it wasn't giving parents any rights that they didn't already have, but what it did put all those rights in a new chapter, a new section of law here in the state of Florida. So it's very easy for a parent to go, you know what, these are my rights, and I'm going to make sure that you abide by my rights, that you honor my rights.
Oh my gosh, you're so impressive, Diane. It's absolutely amazing that you are such a fearless leader for the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, and you're protecting parents' rights and kids in the state of Florida. And Anna, if you wouldn't mind putting on the parental rights videos so all the viewers out there can see what Diane's just talking about, and then hopefully Diane can explain a little bit more about it. Find out more at knowyourrights.org. And Diane, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about that, because you've worked very hard on that in the state of Florida. And I know Citizens Commission on Human Rights is working on a lot of different avenues as far as that goes.
And also, if I may, Diane, just because we have a lot of listeners on the radio that could not see that video, if you could maybe just tell them a little bit of the information that was coming up on the screen so they can partake in what we're doing here on the radio as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the video is one of 7 different PSAs, if you will, little public service announcements, 40 to 20 seconds long, that simply using, pictures and images, educate a parent on a particular right. The one that we just showed was on the right to be notified, which I was talking about concerning the Baker Act during involuntary examination. So there's 7 different ones that we created, and that's part of a campaign here in the state of Florida to make sure that there's 4 million kids in the state of Florida, like 2 million plus households, family households, 21 million people. But
right. We're talking about a lot of kids.
Yeah, it's a lot of children, and it's a lot of people to reach. And it's important that, like I said, parents know their rights. So, making sure that that's, very, easily accessed is important to us. And we've worked hand in glove with so many very important groups here in the state of Florida on this particular issue. It's like, if I named any one of them, I would feel bad because I'm sure I would leave somebody out. But let me tell you, these guys, just worked and worked and worked so hard for a long time. Like Shaun said, it's not necessarily a fast process to change a situation, but it can be done, especially if you're together as a team and, you find the common ground that you can agree on, because like Miriam said, CCHR is, non-political, we're non-religious, but we work with people who are political. We work with people who are religious, whether they're Christians or whether of the Jewish faith or some other faith, it's like, so, it's important that everyone really, take the time to also, leading back to Shaun, make your voice heard, find out what's happening, know what your rights are and speak up. And in the area of mental health, human rights, it's incredibly important, because if you just depend on the quote unquote experts, you could be steered down a dangerous path, actually.
Yeah, especially when the experts, more and more light is coming to the surface now. And like I mentioned earlier, Diane, that, even Tucker Carlson had on Fox News yesterday, is there a connection between mass killings and prescription drugs? And obviously the overreach of the pharmaceutical companies in so many different areas of life now, the foster care system, the schooling system, the military. And now finally it's starting to come to light that these psychotropic drugs that they're putting people on have very dangerous side effects. I I don't just talk, I have a paper in my hand. And I'm sure, I mean, Diane, you're an expert on this, but some of the side effects of these drugs are homicide or homicidal ideation, which means having thoughts of homicide,
right,
psychosis, violent related symptoms, aggression, suicide. So it's, you know, starting to become a little bit more in the fabric of the communication going on, that these are very, very strong drugs with very dangerous side effects, some of them, especially when put in combination with each other. So just to what you're doing to make people aware of that, and make especially parents with children aware of that. And obviously you, CCHR worked very hard to get this bill passed by Governor DeSantis in the state of Florida. And I believe that you guys are now trying to do that and bring that to other states in our country, correct?
Yeah.
We are definitely helping other states. Different organizations across the country have reached out to CCHR for assistance in passing Parents' Bill of Rights in the different areas. Arizona just passed a very good, very strong bill. Florida, the Child and Parents' Rights Campaign, it's a nonprofit attorney organization that works to fight for parents' rights. They called Florida's law some of the strongest and most comprehensive language to protect parents' rights in the entire country. And when I saw Arizona's bill, I think they might have beat us. It's actually really, really good. And there's another state that just put something into law same year that Florida passed, actually. And, you know, so there has been widespread interest in duplicating what was done here in Florida. And, you know, I think last time I counted, it was 20 plus states, I think it was, that, you know, had filed some sort of version of the Parents' Rights Bill. And obviously our concern is to make sure that it includes the right to direct the mental health of the parent.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is definitely a right that needs to be protected. And I mean, I would really love to see no children ever being involuntarily committed. I mean, the fact that a 5-year-old can be taken out of a school and put, you know, little zip ties on the wrist and be put in the back of a police car. I really would like to see that never, ever happen in our whole entire country. You know, because I think at this point in time, there's a little over 8 million kids on psychotropic medication. I could be a little bit off, but it's pretty high. So Diane, I really applaud you for your human rights efforts in the field of mental health. You're a courageous leader for CCHR chapter in Florida. Really appreciate what you're doing for the state of Florida. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Applause.
Yes, applause, big applause, definitely. And Shaun, maybe, who knows, maybe you'll be asking people about how they're protecting their children's mental health here pretty soon. Maybe we'll see a video from you.
Oh, Shaun, you're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
It's okay, Shawnee.
Gosh.
Oh, there
Okay,
you go.
good. It's so beautiful to hear you talk about this, Diane, because in my state, it seems that the parents' rights are really starting to evade us, and we're trying to fight back because we're realizing the necessity for legislation to protect our children and ensure that our ideas are preserved over what we want our kids to be able to do or not do. I just recently heard a story where a woman is now suing a local school district because her child was removed from the school because there was some kind of TikTok threat of something happening. And she was just curious, like, is this real? So she goes up to her teacher to say, hey, there's a TikTok threat. Like, what's the scoop with this? And the teacher reported her, and that girl was reprimanded and taken by the police to the local police department, and the mother never even knew. Wow. And that's terrifying. Yeah. And if there's not some type of legislation to ensure that we're protected, there needs to be.
Yeah. I would love to read off at this moment, because we are a basic human rights show. And actually Article 9 of our human rights, which, in case anybody doesn't know, the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. There are 30 basic human rights. It's not political. It's not racial. It is your basic human rights. And number 9 is actually, no one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile.
Yep.
And so I'll read that to you again. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. And there's many different definitions of detention, including taking a child from school and, you know, putting them in a mental facility or the likes of. So,
well, sure. And then we have Article 5, which is no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment. And that is one of our basic human rights. So thank you again for what you're doing.
Yes. So guys, we're going to have to wrap this up, but really quick, Diane, if you don't mind, I always love ending things with a call to action. We've given these people some wonderful information. What can people do if they want more information, or what can they do to feel empowered and, you know, even one step forward in doing something with regard to their parental rights?
Yes, definitely. Real fast, Diane, if anybody wants to get the parental rights in their state and make sure that the rights are protected in their county, what do you think that they should do?
Step one, you can learn more about what we did here in Florida on our website, which is cchrflorida.org.
I'm going to repeat that on just right into my microphone. CC, that's like cat, Charlie, cchr.com. Nope.
cchrflorida.org.
There we go.
cchrflorida.org.
Okay, there we go. We got it.
So go there, learn more, and then once you're ready, the next step would be to contact your elected officials, whether you have assemblymen or House reps or senators, whatever it is, and let them know that you as a parent want to ensure that you have the right to direct the upbringing, mental health, education, etc. of your child, and you want to introduce and pass a Parents' Bill of Rights.
All right. Thank you so much, Diane and Shaun. Amazing show.
Yes. Well done.
Thank you, guys. Yes. So we're going to, that's right.
I like that.
Yes. Woo. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on, you guys. It was awesome.
And we're going to play this song with me again and the Marine rapper called Raise My Voice. And just so you guys know, I'm performing this weekend at the Blexit event at Child's Park in St. Petersburg this Saturday at 2:00 in St. Petersburg. Blexit, Blexit. You guys can look it up. Thank you guys to our guests.
Thank you so much. And here we are. We're gonna go out with JIERRA's song. And thanks for joining us on Voices for Change. And thank you so much, Chapters Rap, for protecting our freedom of speech with the awesome network.
I wasn't raised to be ignored. Mama, she told me to make some noise. I wasn't raised to play the boy. Out of the bowl, I am the voice. Whenever the people is feeling the void, too many liberties we enjoy. Can't let the freedom be destroyed. Let the church say.
I was raised to raise my voice. I wasn't raised to raise my voice. I wasn't raised to raise my voice until I didn't have a choice. Speak out now.